Welcome to Bari Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
Well, welcome back to another week, Lita.
Hey, Shan.
So a question that we always ask people, and I thought we could lead off today with that, is we always say to people, like, what would be your top tip, to someone else just starting out on a bariatric process? I'll go first because I'll give you a little bit of time to think about what your answer would be. But mine, I thought about yesterday when we went out for lunch with Mum and Dad up at Harvey Bay, is to learn to throw food out.
Oh, your mum is the worst.
Yeah, that's like a really big thing. Like, because like Mum, has struggled with her weight in the past, but she's quite thin and she's quite active and stuff like that. But her way of dealing with not throwing food out is to pass it on to others.
I was literally sitting there yesterday with the foamies. I had to get up and walk away from the table because I'd eaten too much. And I came and sat back down on the table and she's like, here's some more hot chips. And I was like, Deb, take them away. She's like, no, but if you don't eat them, I'm going to eat them. I was like, I'm going to be physically sick if I eat them, Deb. Because
I remember telling your mum and I was literally like, Mum, I think you need to learn to throw out food as much as we do because, it's kind of the calories in B, calories in B, calories in U, it's like works both ways. So for me, I'm like, that's something I've had to kind of really try and work on. I'm still not great at it. I'm still like having times where I'm like, I can't throw these last 4 things out. There's only 4, and
my way of combating that was that I used to have to put the napkin over the plate. Yeah, which your mum did, but then she started like picking at the napkin and trying to... Oh, it was funny.
What would yours be?
Recently, I'd have to say it's kind of like, calling yourself out and just being honest with yourself. But I think like early on, because that's something that you need to sort of do down the track. You got to kind of, all the time, you just got to be honest with yourself. Like I think
you got to learn to be honest with yourself.
You've got to learn to be honest with yourself. And that's one thing. I'm very good at justifying everything that I do.
As we all are, yep.
So I think I would just like to... My top tip would be to learn to acknowledge the fact that you're justifying, not necessarily have to act on the fact that you're justifying it at the early stages because the weight will come off, but at least realize that what you're doing isn't going to be helping you in the long run, if that makes sense. Like just acknowledging the fact that you could be self-sabotaging yourself. Yeah,
look at the bigger picture. Like it's like, one small step in the wrong direction done too many times can have the same effect as, going forward, Because
that's one thing that our guest said, our guest that we've got on tonight, in her form that she filled out, she said that, in the first 8 to 10 months, the weight just fell off and it was almost like a...
You're just giving away all this person's... I feel like you're just stealing someone else's joke.
Nobody knows
it's
what
her
I'm
great
talking
information.
about. Right, well, I don't even know if we've asked that question.
You can share it and then we'll bring her on. You've started now. You might as well finish.
Well, now I've forgotten what I was saying. No, but she was saying that, like, essentially, she's probably sitting there behind the scenes just, like, giggling at us, being like, oh, my God, these two, seriously. So she was saying that, like, in the first, I'm going to say 12 months, the weight falls off and you can kind of, like, as you're starting to learn how to eat foods and stuff again, the weight's still falling off. So you can quite easily fall into that, like, habit of getting into eating those, like, small snacks. And at the very, very beginning, it's, like, very minimal amounts. But over time, because you've still have that habit ingrained in you since the very beginning, over time, that habit then grows with your restriction, if it makes sense.
And slowly enough that you don't notice it's growing as well. So
So anyway, before I give too much away,
the person that you heard that from must have been really wise. You should get her on the podcast.
Yeah, well,
like maybe in like the next minute or so.
Hello. Oh God, that just reminds me of last night when you were trying to do the dial-up impersonation.
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
Anyway, today's guest was sleeved back in 2017 with a start weight of roughly 130 kilos. She's almost 5 years down the track and she's well and truly into the maintenance phase. Here to talk to us tonight about her weight loss journey, her recent journey through plastics, and the not so, I guess we could say, exciting side of maintenance. Please welcome the honest, awkward, and bright, they were her words, not mine, Zoe, aka Zoe's _losing it on the gram.
Welcome, Zoe.
Hello.
I'm so glad they're your words and not Lita's. I was like, are you like calling someone awkward in the intro. It's like, well, that's setting it in the right
because
direction.
in the form I asked, what are the 3 words to describe yourself? And I've never once ever said it. So I was like, you know what? Tonight I'm just going to throw it in there as your description. And I was like, it's cool. You're calling yourself awkward. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, look, I think when you've always been overweight your whole life, you are a little bit socially awkward. And I've carried that through being smaller, and I'm still very socially awkward, and I cannot do small talk. You put me in a room with someone I don't know, I cannot do small talk.
Yeah. Oh my God, preach. I'll end up talking about like
poop,
the meaning of life before I talk about like what they had for breakfast. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. It's a real concept.
I didn't pick that up though when we met. I don't know if it's because we've been talking so long on Instagram, but when we met, it was just kind of, there were a few wines involved too though, I think.
Look, lots of alcohol is consumed on those occasions, Lita. And they give anyone
false pretense
security.
Everyone's going to talk. Yeah. So you're like almost 5 years out from surgery. Massive achievement. You've done really well. Is it hard like to remember like now being 5 years out who you were like back before you had surgery? Like, do you have to sometimes remind yourself of like...
No, because she's always been awkward.
No, but like, you know, like more like remember who you were so you don't lead back there. Like, is it getting harder to like remember where you were?
I think it is. It was so long ago, but I think I don't remember really myself back then. And I know that sounds really stupid, but in that time, you know, when I had my sleeve, I had a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and they're a lot older now. My 1-year-old doesn't remember me being fat, and she sees photos of me when I was fat and doesn't know who I was, who that is. Just is that person with dad, and that's a bit awkward, isn't it? But it's really, I think it's good that you can look back though, and if you're having one of those days where you feel like you are fat and you look in the mirror and you go, oh, I look terrible. And I do that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's 5 years and I still have fat brain and I still look in the mirror and go, oh my God, I look horrible. And then I pull out a photo from 5 years ago and I go, no, Zoe, you don't look horrible. It's just, I don't think that mentality will ever leave. And I think that's really sad.
Like in a way, I think it's a good thing if it doesn't leave, because it's a constant reminder of like where you were and then where you don't want to go back to, and then like, you know, it gives you an appreciation for what you have today through, you know, what you used to struggle with once upon a time. But you're right, the body dysmorphia side of things, and like, you know, kind of the I guess the things that were ingrained mentally into you from that stage in your life, you know, is a different story.
And it's funny that you say that your daughter, or sorry, your 1-year-old doesn't know who you were as a bigger person, because today when I was doing your before and after photos, I was looking back at like the one that you posted of you, I guess, before surgery. And because you were done 2 years before us, when we met you, you were already 2 years like well and truly into your journey. So I was just kind of like, even though I've seen the photos posted on Instagram and stuff, I actually had a moment today where I was like, that's not you. That's not who you are.
I know.
And it's just weird because like we've met you a few times, we've hung out, you know, we've gone to a few different events together, and I just can't picture in my head you being anybody apart from who you are. But it's funny that when you look at yourself in the mirror, sometimes you see that other person.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't look anything like I did back then. And it's funny because I've never in my whole life has anyone ever told me I look like my mum, ever. And it's only now that I'm smaller, everyone who knows my mum goes, God, you look like your mum.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no. I'm like, I get it now. I do. But I don't know, the features, my mum's tiny. She's, you know, really tiny and always has been. And I've never, ever had anyone say that I look like her. It's always been that I looked like my dad. And it was just, it's really funny that now when I post photos, even on my Facebook, my grandparents who are on Facebook will be like, God, you're just your mum. It's like, I'm not.
Is your dad a solid bloke, or is he?
I actually grew up not knowing my dad. I've never met him. He's deceased. He is Italian. I know that. I've seen photos of him. I wouldn't say solid, but well, I'd say solid, but he wasn't big, and I wouldn't say he was obese.
Yeah.
But definitely had some weight. But I've always been, I'm half Italian, so I look more like that. Not, that I look like my mum, who's not at all.
Yeah, wow. Half Italian. I wouldn't have picked it. I wouldn't have, I don't know what an Italian looks like, so probably wouldn't have picked that either.
So cast your mind back to roughly 5 years ago. What was it that was your breaking point that made you go, nah, this is it. I need to have bariatric surgery?
Yeah. And to me, and this is, I think women will associate with this. When I was pregnant, so when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I was roughly 125 kilos. I had gestational diabetes, yes, but only from 20-something weeks. I lost weight during my pregnancy. That does not happen. That's ridiculous. I just put it down to gestational diabetes. And then 5 years later, I had my second child, and I lost 10 kilos during that pregnancy. And I wasn't, eating differently or doing anything differently. I was doing everything the same and not exercising and not doing that sort of stuff, because when you're pregnant and you're fat, you can't. So, and I was losing weight, and to obstetricians, that's just odd. And then I sort of went, it doesn't make sense. And I had a friend come over who had a sleeve, and we were talking about it. And my daughter, I reckon I just had my daughter. She would have been a couple of months old, and we were talking about losing weight. Well, I was pregnant and how odd it was, and she just looked at me and said, "Zoe, do you understand that your weight isn't you or what you do? It's your hormones, and it's the way you're made. It's got nothing to do with what you're doing." Because I couldn't understand why I'm eating salads and I'm eating well and I'm exercising and the weight doesn't move. And I think it's really important that not everyone puts on weight because of what they do. It can be, a hormonal imbalance or something along those lines. And I sort of went, and that very day, she left and I signed up for a private health. Contacted her surgeon's office and booked my first appointment. So it was, that's what I needed. I think, to be honest, before then, I thought weight loss surgery was an easy way out. I thought it was a cheat. And I don't think it was until then that I realised it's actually a tool. It's not a cheat or an easy way out. It's absolutely, it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It's really hard. And I think I didn't really know, I knew people who had a sleeve, but I'd never spoken to them about it. And I think after having a conversation with her about it, it was like, wow, you still struggle with your weight and all of those sort of things. She was about 2 years post-op. And, it's still a struggle and you do have to work at it. But, yeah, I think that whole conversation absolutely changed my mindset. And, 12 months after that, I had a sleeve.
Do you look back at the first, year as the easiest year you had of your bariatric process, though? Has it got easier or harder as time's gone on?
Absolutely. The first year, it's just, you think you're invincible. You can eat what you want. You could eat McDonald's every day and still lose weight.
Yep.
Because you're not eating much.
Don't eat McDonald's every day, everybody.
Don't do
it.
Trust me, don't do that. Because once you get to, I didn't hit my goal weight until I was probably 18 months, or not my goal weight, my lowest weight. I never really had a goal, but my lowest weight I've reached about 18 months post-op. And, it was easy. I got there. And, I listened to my dietitian and my surgeon and everything in moderation. But as you do that, you realise, well, I can eat badly. And it doesn't change how much weight I'm losing. And it's not until I got to, I work in a major hospital where we do bariatric surgery as well. And I happened to be chatting to one of the surgeons one day. And all the bariatric surgeons there know that I've had weight loss surgery. And he just said to me, "Zoe, how have I pressed off for you?" And I was like, 2.5 years. And he just gave me this look. He says, "Zoe, 3 years. 3 years is when you'll start regaining protein. And I just went, what? and he just went, at 3 years, that's when your body starts to regain and you need to up your protein intake every day. And I was like, wow, didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's true. At 3 years, I started putting on weight. And I was exercising every day and I was eating well. So it doesn't make a difference. I was still putting on weight. And I was like, you know what? That's okay. It is okay. Your body's gotten over the shock of the dramatic weight loss and it's plateauing out and making everything normal. And so I had a chat to my surgeon at that time. I think it was my 4-year post-op appointment. Yeah, no, it was my 3-year post-op appointment. It was during COVID. And I happened to say, like, I'm actually a bit concerned. I've put on a couple of kilos. I'm a bit worried. And I just went, sorry, our last reported weight of you is actually exactly what you are now. And I was like, oh. And they said, and we would expect you to put on 10% of your lowest. And I went, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Putting on a little bit of weight.
But do you think that's a glitch in the system though? Because like I know for me personally, when I was sitting down with my surgeon, they don't tell you about what they call the bounce back. They just give you the estimated that you could potentially lose. They don't tell you that, you know, you might hit your lowest and then bounce back by 10%. You know what I mean? Like, so when you get to your lowest weight and then you start, and for surgeons on the ward to then turn around and say at 3 years, that's when you're going to start. Why don't you tell us that in the initial consultation?
They do, and this is something I learnt the other day. So the 50% stat that we always talk about, and we always talk about 50% of people regain, that's not full regain. That 50% stat is actually 10%? The 10%. Well, no, it's 10 to 30% rebound, they call it. So the 50% of people will have that 10 to 30% rebound. So there may be people that don't have that. 50% of people don't have that. And I was like, when I read that stat, I was like, oh, wow, like I'm kind of part of that statistic then, the 50% regain statistic, because I bounced back 7. So I'm like, you know, that was 10%, not even of mine. And I was like, I'm part of the 50% statistic that we always talk about.
I would love to find out, because there was somebody that came to me the other day and said, you know, they were going down the route of revision surgery. And I said, you know, it's not, where you are isn't a bad place to be. Like, at least you're acknowledging it and you're doing it, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, yeah, but the problem is that I never got to my goal weight in the first place. So I never implemented the right things beforehand when I had my sleeve surgery to be able to get me to my goal weight. So she blatantly said in front of me, like, I'm doing things 100% differently this time. Like, if I didn't even reach my goal weight on sleeve and then regain, she said, I didn't even get down to my goal weight and I regained. So it's just kind of like I'd love to know the statistic of the regain for the people who don't necessarily get to their lowest weight, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think it's also really important. I mean, my surgeon, not once did we ever speak of a goal weight, or did he tell me that he had a goal weight for me. It was always just, you do you. You know, you follow what we tell you to do, you eat well, you exercise, you do all of the things is there to help you with. But there was never a goal and there was never an amount given to me of weight. And I actually am really happy with that, because I think if he had have given me a number and I didn't reach it, I would have felt like a failure.
Yeah.
And so, and I surpassed what I thought my goal was, not by trying. It happened.
Yeah, because there's two things that come with that number. Because I remember my surgeon gave me a goal number. I think it was like 95 kilos or something. And it was kind of like, oh my God, if I don't reach that, I'm a failure. And that was like a pressure of like, if you don't reach it, you're not successful. When really you could get to 100, 105. And if you've done the right things, you have good habits implemented, you're probably more successful than going past it. But the other thing was, it was a big motivator for me, because you kind of, at 175 kilos, someone's telling me my goal weight is like 95, or I think it was 100 or something. I can't remember what it was now, but that was like, oh my God, like I can do that after this, you know? So there's two sides to it, but you're definitely right. Like the pressure of, oh, I've got to get there, otherwise my surgeon's going to think I'm failing, is a huge thing.
My surgeon gave me he said between 85 and 90 kilos. And when I was going in for surgery, I was 127 kilos. And in my mind, I was like, mate, if I get to 90 kilos, like, I want more than that. Like, I understand that you're not trying to put too much pressure on me, but like, I'm not doing this massive procedure and paying all of this money just to get to 90 kilos. Like that would have still been 37 kilos lost.
You sound so sassy. Like, I didn't pay all this money.
I didn't pay all this money. Click,
just
click,
to
click.
go down 3 dress houses, okay?
But I was just like, no, and like in my head, I never had a like goal weight as such, but I also knew that if I could get to 85 kilos, I probably would have been like, cool, I'm good. But I also, because he set the goal for me to be 85 to 90 kilos, I was like, oh, well, I kind of realistically want to get to 80 kilos. Like that's where I want it to be. But I never once vocalized it because he was very much so like, much like your surgeon, don't put any goals on it. Like this is where we predict that you will get with the statistics. But, you know, and I was like, I'm not getting down to 85. I'm going to get down to 80. Come on. I'm not doing this massive procedure just for that.
Overachiever. Do you not know who I am?
Tell me to do something and I will do it better.
Have you had any like low points throughout your process, Zoe?
To be honest, look, I haven't had any, you know, I don't have reflux. I don't have all these things that I see people have or any issues with my sleep. It's all gone perfectly. I think my biggest issue is my head. And, you know, 5 years down the track, my head still gets me. And my biggest issue, which I only realised was an issue very recently post-plastics, was the scales to me aren't what defines my success. It's the label on my clothes. And it's really stupid because no one knows what size you're wearing except you and the person who sold you it.
Yeah, unless you leave the tag hanging out the back or something and then people will know. But
I did go out to dinner with a fellow sleeper last night who had her cardigan on backwards and we laughed at it.
The support is amazing. You know, I love that.
I know. It wasn't the size on it. I was like, that's cardigan on the right way, you twist. But it's really like it only dawned on me after plastics that I wouldn't buy anything unless it was a size 12 or a size medium. That to me defined success. And I mean, I'm definitely not at my lowest, but I'm at a healthy stage. And I just think that's really, what an idiot, Zoe. Like, you idiot.
Yeah.
That doesn't, no one knows what you are wearing or what size you're wearing. Who gives a crap what size it is? And it was only because I've gotten a new job and I had to change my wardrobe for work because in my current role, I wear very casual clothes and I'm moving to corporate. And so I need blazers. And I'm not stupid. I have big arms. Like, I haven't had surgery on my arms. I have a lot of excess skin on them. And it was like, well, Zoe, I looked in my wardrobe and went, Zoe, you don't actually own anything in a size 12. Well, you don't own anything that has tight arms, even the puffy sleeves with the tightness on it. I don't own those sort of clothes because they're too small on my arms. And so a size 12 won't fit me in that, whereas a size 14 would. So I didn't own anything. So I had to buy some blazers and, it's like, size 12, no, I can't even get them up. To a size 14, I can. And, it doesn't, I was like, oh, you idiot, it shouldn't define you. Like, it shouldn't. And I sort of just had to go, you know what? And I sort of just went, no one gives a shit what size I'm wearing. Buy the 14, Zoe.
Yeah.
Well, let me just tell you now that you are somebody who I have followed for a very long time, and I've always looked up to you, and I've always thought you're super confident, and I've always thought that you've owned your journey. And when I was reading your form today to say that it actually baffled me, and I saw a post actually that it was a photo of you before plastics, and it was you were wearing like a green leopard print top with some black jeans or something. And you're like, oh, one of my kids took this photo and you were in a bad place mentally, and you're like, I saw this photo and I actually thought that it was going to look worse than what I actually did. And you kind of like gave yourself props to be like, oh, well, I actually, I've got to snap out of this. I've got to start loving myself for who I am. And I like, that was looking through your Instagram and stuff. I was just kind of like, I've never thought that you would be the kind of person that would suffer with, is it body dysmorphia or is it like clothes dysmorphia? I don't know what you call what you're going through, but like I've always seen you as this like confident, like successful sort of person. And then for me to read that post, I was like, far out, you have no idea what's going on in other people's heads. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I think, I don't even know what it would be. I do have body dysmorphia. But then I look at myself in activewear and go, holy shit, my legs looking good today. You know, it just sucks it all in. But I don't think it matters what you look like. If you look in the mirror naked, you're going to find flaws.
Yeah.
It's the way it is.
And if you don't find flaws, you'll find a hair somewhere that you're not happy with.
Yep, that's correct. Or a stretch mark or cellulite. Like, it's all there. Who cares? And I just think, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think that's what I think defined my success was the size of my clothes. And, you know, I just think, and it always did when I was at my smallest, I would never have bought anything that was any bigger than what in my head I was, because that was failure. And now I'm like, that was just wear what fits you and what you feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
Like, the thing with clothing though is that, so Deb, Shan's mum, me and her are quite close, and we go shopping together all the time. We run together all the time. Well, we're very similar body shapes, and we could share clothes. But she said the other day that I commented on an outfit that she was wearing. It was like this cute little like onesie play suit sort of thing. I was like, oh my God, that's so cute. And she's like, oh, I got it from JJ's, but it's a size 16. And in my head, I was like, Deb, you are not a size 16. Like, there's no way that you're a size, because in my head, I was like, I'm not a size 16. There's no way that you're a size 16. But she just said, like, she went into JJ's and she tried on the size 12, which is what she would normally be. And she said it didn't even get up over her, like, thighs. So sizes of clothing should not, or sizes on the scale or whatever, but sizes of clothing especially should not define your success, because they vary from store to store. They don't even vary from store to store. I've been in the same shop
within the store.
Yeah, and I've tried on exactly like the same size within the store, and they've not, like, I've tried on a size 12 in two different sizes, like two different, like, what do you call them? Two different colors or whatever, and they've fit completely different. Like, sizing is just, they shouldn't have sizing. They should have, like, I don't know.
It should just be measurements.
Well, that's what they do in guys. That's what they do in guys' clothing. Why is it small, medium, large in women's clothing, but in men's it's like, here's a 32-inch waist. You know, like, measure your waist.
It's gonna fit.
Is it gonna fit? No, I'm a 46. Well, then a 32 ain't gonna fit you, mate.
That's it. Like, we should just all go back to wearing ponchos. One size fits all. So, you know,
and then belt it so you can see some sort of definition.
No, if you want to get some like little fancy things, put a belt around the middle. You know, maybe put like some bedazzle on the top left if you want to get a bit fancy, you know, like just solves all of it. You know, we're good to go.
Or, as Shannon would like to say, why don't we all just go naked and we'll like...
Yeah, I agree with that. Then we could all just be comfortable with who we are, because you have to just display it. You know, it could traumatize a few people.
I have no issue with that. I just don't think I want to see that.
No, you don't want to?
You know, I'm happy to be naked. I just don't want to see everyone else.
I don't know. It's kind of, I find it quite interesting, like how much we all differ. Like, we're all kind of like different.
Shannon's like, no, show me more. Bend over.
Whoa, okay. I just went from being like an enthusiast of the body to like an absolute sicko in like 2 seconds. Like, thanks for that, leader.
So sorry, what we share in the bedroom is not what we share in the podcast.
Moving on.
Moving on. Do you need a minute, Zoe?
Okay? I think I need a couple. Speaking of awkward people in your life that say things about you that make you feel a bit awkward, no. Has there been anyone in your life that like in your process has played a big part, like that you've kind of used as a tool, I guess, in your process? Like, I have leader. That's kind of where I'm leading.
My family. And it's just more, all I wanted to do was be a better mum, really. And be able, you know, because prior to my sleeve, I wouldn't have taken the kids to the park. I wouldn't have played with them in public. I wouldn't have done any of that because I was too embarrassed and because I couldn't. Like, I wasn't going to the park and running around. It was stupid. And I just wanted to be a better mum for them and be able to, you know, go for a run, go to the park, kick a ball, do whatever it is that they want to do. Jump on the trampoline with them. Things like that I could not physically do beforehand. But also to teach them, I think, that everything is okay in moderation. But the importance of fruit, veggies, healthy things, protein, all of that, exercise, how important it is, because the Zoe before my sleep didn't really give a shit about that.
Yeah.
How old were your kids when you had the sleeve?
1 and 5.
Yeah.
Righto. Someone is a teacher's pet over here.
Listen, can I get a gold star?
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
And obviously you learning the different things like, exercise, protein, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. Do you think that has made an impact on their life in the last few years, in like the last 5 years? Can you see them learning from you?
Absolutely. So, one likes veggies, one likes salad. So that makes life difficult. But they eat it. And, they eat their fruit in the morning. They know that they have breakfast and then they have fruit for their mid-morning, whatever. At school, that's enforced, which is great. But at home, they still have to do that too. It's just, eat fruit. And they eat so many more fruits than I do because I'm really fussy. I'm really simple with food. So, my oldest will eat sushi and I'm like, oh, I'm not eating that.
Oh, my God. That's strange.
We can't be friends
I'm
anymore.
really simple. Really simple. But, they'll eat blueberries and raspberries and, everything under the sun. And, I mean, our shopping bill is through the roof now because of the amount of fruit and veggies that we buy.
Oh, that's good though.
Because you all like different things.
Yeah, that's really good.
Well, that and, it's actually expensive to eat healthily.
It is.
It's more than eating like crap.
We
were saying this yesterday,
times.
especially because we were driving from here to Harvey Bay, which is about a 2.5 hour trip from where we live. And there was McDonald's and Hungry Jack's and KFC and blah, blah, blah. But then there's this, I don't know if you guys have got it down south, but it's called Olivio's or something like that. And it's like this. Oliver's, yeah. And it's like this healthy, takeaway place. And if it's a standalone and you've been driving for an hour or two and you're starving, you go in there and you don't care how much it costs, but you just buy it because you're ravenous and you want to eat something. But when Sham was doing his bike ride from Tari back to home, we stopped in at a massive service station and we were like, oh, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to go to Oliver's and we're going to get ourselves a healthy wrap or something like that. We walked in there and it was a sausage roll that was made with vegetables or something. It was $14. And we were like, sorry, what?
No.
And then it was oh, well, you can have this organic chicken wrap, but it's $12. But the problem was that there was also a Subway, a KFC, and a McDonald's in the same complex. So I was like, I'm going to go to Subway and just get a salad sandwich because, I probably it's not as good as what this Oliver's is, but it's also not going to cost me $30 for 2 meals. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then going to Coles and Woolworths, buying vegetables. Sometimes it's $9 a kilo for a piece of broccoli. It's so expensive to eat healthy.
Yeah.
But it's 90 cents to buy.
Last year, it was $5 for a bloody lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
For lettuce, like an iceberg lettuce.
Oh, an iceberg lettuce. It was $5, and I was like, is this a joke?
But then it costs 90 cents to buy a bag of home brand chips.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I had that yesterday. We went and got those corn chips for Amy's party because she did these stack of things, and we went and got the corn chips, and I was like, oh, I want to get kind of decent organic ones kind of thing, with not a lot of salt and blah blah. And the bags were almost 2.5 times the price of the cheap Doritos and stuff, and I'm like, how does that work? I guess it's mass produced, I guess, but I'm like, that's a big difference. That's 2.5 times.
It's almost like they're penalizing you. There's if you can
these suckers will pay it.
If you can, especially at the moment, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but I was literally sitting there because your ex is the worst for this. We were sitting in the car and we were driving to the plaza to go shopping together, and all of a sudden she went, "Oh, I wonder what the Macca's deal is today because they've got 30 deals in 30 days."
Yeah.
Which I didn't even know was a thing. But then she pops up and it's 3 cheeseburgers for $2. And I was like,
That's pretty good.
That's such a good price.
That's crazy.
That's value. I'm going now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going.
But then if I want to go and buy an apple, if I buy one singular apple from Coles, it's probably like $25 a kilo. So it's going to cost me like $7 for an apple. You know what I mean? Like that was exaggerated, but you know what I mean?
Even
like,
from when I'm a kid, I feel like things are junk foods are getting cheaper, but healthy foods are getting more expensive. Like I don't. I just feel like it's...
But I also feel that junk food's getting smaller because not too long ago I bought us a box of Maxi Bonds and I paid I got them on special. It was like $6 for a packet of 4 and I opened up and I was like, what is this? A Maxi Bond for ants? Like, are you kidding me? Like, if I'm going to eat it, I want it to be like the full hog. I want this to be worth every penny.
And now we see why Lita did bariatric surgery. She's like, if I'm going to eat an ice cream, it needs to be a buffet.
If I'm going to eat ice cream,
bring in the Wendy's truck, back it in, put it in my mouth.
Being 5 years out now, have you found that we spoke about this a lot last week in our podcast about habits coming in and all that sort of thing. And you've mentioned a few times during this podcast that it's just a tool. Have you found it harder to sort of keep on track of your bad habits and that sort of things? Or did you kind of nip it in the bud early enough that you haven't had to worry about that?
Oh, I'm always struggling. I mean, my favourite food is hot chips. I'm always struggling with food. I don't think that ever leaves. And as much as, I don't like to cook. I'm not a cook. My husband does the cooking. I think it is really hard to stay on track. But it is a tool. And you have to. And I think I didn't probably nip it until I started putting on weight. And that's when I went, you can't buy lunch every day. You've got to take in your lunch. That's when I started getting the slow cooker out and making slow cooker meals and, putting them into little portions. And I think what else makes it really hard is the more you go along the years, your sleep does stretch. And it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you're overeating. It just does. And whilst I can't eat a full-size meal, I can probably eat easily 2 cups of food for lunch or dinner. And so that's a lot more than when you're 1 year post-op where you can do 1 cup. And that doesn't help. It doesn't help when, you want to try and be good, but the more you eat, that's the more calories you're consuming. If you're counting calories, if you're doing anything like that, it just makes it more. It is really hard.
And I find there's ways that you can bypass your restriction as well. Because for me, last night, for instance, we went over to a friend's house and we had these things called haystacks, which is essentially deconstructed tacos. They have everything on the table. You put it all together. You throw a few corn chips on top to scoop it all up. And I said after I'd scooped, I put a tiny bit of meat, a tiny bit of the vegetarian mix in there. And I said to everybody already, I put too much on my plate, but whatever. I'm just going to keep on putting it in there. I had to have a little bit of everything. And I sat down at the table and I ate as much as I possibly could over, say, the 45 minutes. But I left a little bit on my plate. My restriction, I knew within myself that I'd pushed my restriction to the limit, blah, blah, blah. An hour or so later, I came home and I had a piece of homemade pizza because I was when you're this far out, yes, you eat to your restriction, but you also then the restriction wears off quicker and you can eat more. Yeah. And I think that's the problem. We become very good at grazing and eating in between meals. Shannon's looking at me like I'm an idiot.
No, I agree with that completely, Lita. I agree.
So
she does it all the time. I stare at her. I listen to her and she goes, why are you looking at me like an idiot? I'm listening
why
to
did you come back with something? No, but that's the thing though. I don't think that I've yes, my sleeve is definitely, I don't want to use the word stretch, but I like to think of it as it becomes a new norm. So as you're gaining weight, as in when we were at our biggest, you would eat, say, a quarter pounder meal from McDonald's, and then you'd eat that and eat that and eat that, and then occasionally it would turn into a quarter pounder meal plus chips, and then you'd eat that over a period of time and it'd turn into a quarter pounder meal plus a chips and another bit. You know what I mean? You can reset your new normal, and you can still reset your new normal with the sleeve. So yes, I will still only eat maybe a cup and a half worth of food every meal, but instead of only having 4 meals a day, I might increase it up to 6 meals a day, which means that you are slowly starting to eat more, but you don't think you're eating more because you're eating smaller portions, but more often.
Yeah. And I don't know, I do sometimes, if I don't have something after dinner, I'll wake up in the middle of the night starving. Like to the point where my stomach is sore that I'm starving.
Well, see, I have a bottle of water next to my bed, so if I wake up in the middle of the night, I scull without sculling. Like I drink as much water as I can without making myself feel sick, and then I go back to bed. But then I'll wake up at 4:30 in the morning and my stomach will be grumbling.
Need to pee.
Well, yeah, and I need to pee, but my stomach will be, I'll pee first and then my stomach will start grumbling, and then Shem brings me a coffee and I'll be like, okay, sweet. But then after we've had our coffee, I'm like, I'm so hungry. And then you start the day off being like ravenous, which is not a good place to start.
No. So it definitely does. Yeah, it changes. It changes over time so much.
It is one of those gradual things too, because it's like, I heard someone the other day says, how often do you not push your restriction? And I was like, that's a very good point. Like, how often do you not push your restriction? Like, how often do you eat little enough that you don't feel that, like, full?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, how often do you eat and, like, finish before you're actually full? Because we've got that mentality where we always want to eat till we're full. You know, maybe it's, like, sometimes we just need to eat a small thing and then walk away from the table and be like, I've given my body what it needs, like, and try and train ourselves. Because I know personally, that's something I've always done. I've always pushed to the edge, push to the edge, push to the edge plus. Oh no, push to the edge, push to the edge, push to the edge plus. You know what I mean? Like, we never really go 10% before. It's because we're so programmed into, like, now fill our little stomachs up, or big stomachs up, whatever it was at the time.
So I made us both an omelette this morning, but I ate an omelette. I ate half of it quite comfortably, and I was like, cool, I'm good. And then, because it was sitting next to me at my work desk, I was like, I don't want to throw it out. That come back to that whole wastage thing again. I don't want to throw it out. So I sat there over probably the course of an hour and made sure that I finished this cold omelette. But I was like, because I didn't want to throw it out. It still tasted delicious cold. It's fine. But, like, it was just kind of like, why didn't I just get up and put it in the fridge? Or, like, why didn't I just get up and put it in the bin? Like, why did I sit here and, like, eat a cold omelette just until it was gone?
Yeah. There's a lot of psychology behind that one. They're the questions you need to kind of understand why. And I think you'll never fully understand it, but if you can understand 75% of that, I think it'll lead you a long way to kind of undoing the big puzzle that is morbid obesity, you know.
But it's definitely, for me, it's definitely psychological, because, like, at lunchtime I can make myself like a chicken and, like, salad wrap on one of those mini wraps that you can get from, like, the, you know, what you meant to make tacos on. I'll make one of them for lunch and I'll finish one of them, but I don't finish to the point where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so full. Like, I'll finish one of them and know that I've had lunch, but then I won't go looking for anything else. My biggest struggle is if I have something left on my plate, I will sit there and it's almost like a challenge. It's like, I can't throw you out, so I don't care how long it takes me to eat you. I will sit here and I will finish you.
See, I'm fine to throw things out.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Are you?
And but I'm nearly 5 years and I still use my portion perfection bowl.
Wow.
So, you know, if I'm having pasta or anything with rice or anything like that, there's a bowl activity. I put it in my portion perfection bowl, and I know that that'll do me. But I also still get the hiccup when I'm full. So I think, you know, I sort of know, but I have no issues throwing food out. And I think, and it's really taught me as a parent to not say to my kids that you can't leave the table until you finish everything on your plate. Because that's what we're taught when we're growing up, is that we need to eat what's there.
Oh, yeah.
And that then instills with us that we can't leave food on our plate. And I think that's such the wrong mindset to teach at such a young age, because you grow up believing that.
Yep.
And if, you know, sometimes you dish up dinner and you go, oh, shit, that is way too much food. But I'm like, no, I'm done. And I have a dog, so I give the dog gets all the stuff.
It's funny when you said that about, like, 'cause we've all obviously heard it, you know, you can't leave the table until you've finished all the food on your plate. But it's not like our parents sat there and weighed out and counted our macros and counted our calories. You know what I mean? Like, they just went, oh, here's some carrots, here's some broccoli, here's some quiche. That was my clearly my staple dinner when I was younger. But it was just kind of like, here's your meal, eat it, and you can't leave the table until you finish eating it. But who figured out that portion size for me?
Your parents.
My mum did.
Yeah.
And my mum struggled with her weight her entire life. So, like, she filled the plate. And not in a bad way. Like, it wasn't like she gave me 5 carrots, a whole broccoli, and like a quarter of a quiche. But like for a 7-year-old, she was probably giving me what an adult's portion was.
But let me ask you this question. Would you rather sit down to a table with a plate that's less than you need or more than you need?
100% I want more than what I need.
Oh, did you just say less?
Did you say less?
Yeah.
Now or before?
Now.
Oh, now
I would have gone more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That shows progress, I think, like being able to do that now. I think if I could have someone, I don't know, I think I'd still be the more. I think I would still be.
I have this fear of
as much as I want the less, I think I would mentally still want the more. Like, yeah.
I have this fear that I'm going to miss out. FOMO.
FOMO of food.
Yeah. I have a FOMO of food. So, like, I will always put more on my plate and be okay. Like, especially if someone else has cooked it for me. That sounds horrible. If someone else has cooked it for me, I will always put more on my plate to make it, A, look like I appreciate what they've done for me. But B, also, I don't want to be like, oh, I'm just going to have this one little portion and then go back and then know that everybody else has eaten it and I've missed out on it. Like, never put me in a buffet situation, ever.
It's because that last
night. They went.
Oh, you're right.
Oh, when you first leave, you eat things that you really enjoy because you know you can't have much of it. So you really want to enjoy what it is you eat. Now, I'd much rather other people cook for me, so I actually really like it. Therefore, I'm not going to eat too much of it. And I'm not going to overeat it because I don't actually really like it. Just eating it for the sake of eating it. And that's why I like it. I don't think my husband does, because chances are I'm not going to really like what he's cooking. Healthy enough. It gives me the macros I need. But, like, barbecue.
You can take it or leave it.
Whatever. But I'm not going to gorge on it. I love it. And I think, as stupid as that sounds, it's working.
Yeah, no,
what
it
about
does.
if you go out to a restaurant,
Good control.
Well, we went to Taco Bell's last night for dinner. And, look, if I can, all right, so if my older daughter's there, she'll order an adult's meal and I'll order the kids' meal, but we'll pretend that she's getting the kids' meal and I'm getting the adults, and then we swap them. Yeah. But she wasn't there last night, so I ordered an adult meal because my 5-year-old wanted 3 tacos from the adult. And there was nothing on the kids' menu that really I wanted. So I can't even remember what it was, but it was big. And I have the photo and I ate maybe half. And I sort of went, and that was gorging. And that was, I'm so full. So full. I can feel my stomach. I'm bloated.
Yeah. If you went out for dinner.
Yeah.
See, I think that's a justification that you went out for dinner and it's okay to gorge. But, like, it's funny how we do that, though, isn't it? Like, we went out for dinner. It's fine that we, like, went past the point of full. It's like, it's a fancy night. We're allowed to. So you've had your skins. What have you had done?
So I've had a 360 body lift and a fleur-de lift, which is the cut up the middle.
Would you say? Yeah. Did you say a soda lift?
Fleur-de lift.
Fleur-de lift. Soda sounds better. So it's a 360.
What's the recovery been like for you post plastics compared to post sleeve?
Sleeve for me, I think because I had a cesarean, the sleeve for me was actually a really easy recovery. I went to the shops 3 days post sleeve. I went to the shopping centre, walked around. I was okay. This one was in hospital was pretty horrendous because I was nauseous. And when you just had your stomach been cut off, you can't vomit. And you shouldn't be dry reaching. And I was, because the pain meds were making me sick, like really sick. As soon as I stopped the pain meds, I was so much better. So that taught me that in the future, just give me Panadol and Nurofen and I'll be fine. Then, to be honest, the day I was discharged, Victoria went into lockdown
again
with homeschooling. So my recovery that was meant to be me on the couch watching Netflix was me homeschooling 2 kids.
Oh.
One of them being a prep, so she can't do any of it by herself. And yes, whilst I'm an emergency services worker, I wasn't going to use my exemption to send them because I just felt too guilty
Yeah.
about the fact that I was actually not doing anything. So in that sense, it was, for me, I struggled in that I didn't come home and then get to actually look after myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went straight to that. And, the best bit was, I came home with a drain because I was just like, just get me out of here. I don't need the bed. Please let me leave. And I had the hospital and the home nurses coming to me. And on the Monday morning, hospital and the home nurses checking my drain, which is, of course, near my groin. So I'm lying on my bed with my pants down, and my 5-year-old walks in with her Zoom on into the room. Just, I was like, oh my God, I hope no one just saw me lying in the bed.
They're like,
You're
well,
like, take me back to the hospital. Take me back to the hospital.
they're like, wow, your mum has a weird OnlyFans.
But no, look, to be honest, it's been pretty good. I did have lots of, what are they called, infections.
Yep.
So it's pretty normal. I didn't have it at the front where the sort of T-joint is, I guess you call it. Which was what I expected because I've seen a lot of other people who had a flare had infections there, and I didn't at all. So they did a really good job of stitching there. Where I had it, the majority was actually sort of the top of my bum crack, and that's because that area is such a moist area anyway with sweat. Like, so
You could have went with sweaty, not moist.
Sorry. Well, I didn't look like I was a sweaty cow.
But no, you'd rather be a moist one.
I know, it's my ass. Not anything else. But, and then I popped a stitch there as well. So that's the only section, and that's the only section where the scarring is sort of a lot bigger than anywhere else. But it's, the scarring is doing really well. I've gone back to working out, but, I reckon I stopped wearing my binder and stuff around the 10-week mark. But I wear it to exercise because I have no core strength. Like, I didn't have core strength before. Now I have none.
Wow.
So I need the binder just to help me exercise, really.
Wow.
Bring everything together.
Yeah.
You didn't have the muscle repair, did you? Or you?
No.
No.
No, I didn't have any of that. So it was just
So are you done with the plastics, or are you thinking you'd like to do a few more down the track?
I don't know. So I think the hardest thing once you've had plastics is you can't exercise. So I have put on the weight that I lost in the skin removal. That's already back on because I can't exercise, and I'm very untoned at the moment. I lost it within a week. My tone was gone. So now my goal is to just tone up a lot. But I'm really lucky that in Victoria there's not a lot of hospitals that do plastics in the public system for weightless, and I was lucky enough to have it in the public system. So,
wow.
And because I'm in, I can continue if I want to have more. So I think what I would like is my boobs, but not implants or anything. I just want to lift. And I just want the saggy skin gone from those because there's nothing worse than being a G cup full of skin. Like there's literally nothing in there. So I would like a lift, and then let's just continue that line down my arm. And fix the arms at the same time. But then, they've said to me, if I want to get my legs done in the future, I can. And I'm meant to have my 3-month checkup start next month, but because I'm starting a new job, I can't. So I've got that in February now. So we'll discuss the next round.
What's the conditions of qualifying for the public system in Victoria? Like, is there certain physical things that you have to have? Yeah,
you have to have lost a certain amount of BMI, and there has to be a medical reason that you need it to get in. And mine was that I was getting a lot of chafing in my apron. That was very irritated, red, and did get infectious. So that was what I got through, and I'd lost over the amount of BMI points to have it done. Okay. So I'm not, the only thing is the hospital that I went through, I don't believe is accepting referrals anymore. I think I was sort of the last one they actually accepted.
And that's the thing that I've always said. If I was to ever go down the route of like plastics, it would be if I medically needed to, you know, if you were chafing so badly or if you were getting infections and all that sort of thing. Like for me personally, I don't want to have to go through, because I've heard the stories and I don't want to, I hate going under with operations. I hate it because me waking up after having anesthetics is not good. And then the recovery, like I don't want to have to take 12 weeks off doing life in order to recover from it. Like, again, that's me personally, unless it was physically affecting me to the point where, you were getting skin infections or, you know, it was just uncomfortable, like not uncomfortable, but like it was hindering you. But
yeah. And I think my next one, my issue is that when I exercise, my arms and like the overhang under my arms rub.
Yeah.
And they chafe and they hurt. And it means that I'm not actually doing any exercises with my arms properly because it hurts.
Yeah.
So I can't wear singlets when I exercise. I have to wear a t-shirt to at least put something there as a barrier.
Yep.
Which is really annoying. So, and I was always of the opinion that I wouldn't get plastics unless I really needed it.
Yeah.
And I was just really lucky that I got accepted, to be honest.
But also your opinion on whether or not you need it is also allowed to change as well. Like if I'm sitting here right now saying I don't think I need it right now, in 5 years' time, if I turn around and say I want it, I'm not then going to turn around and be like, oh, but back in 2021 you said you were never going to have, like, things change.
Nah,
it's how it is.
Like, things change.
And it's funny, so you were talking about like getting a lift. I said to somebody the other day, I was like, I've never really experienced the whole deflated boob thing that everyone talks about with, you know, your cups, and, you know, you can look down into it and see. And one of my friends turns around and said, when was the last time you wore an underwire bra? And I was like, oh, I haven't since surgery. And they're like, well, then you wouldn't understand what we're talking about then, because obviously without wearing an underwire bra, you're not going to see it sagging because they just sag with the bra. And I was like, oh, well, then I don't need plastics then. I'll just keep on wearing my bralettes. Like, solved. I put on one of my old bras the other day, which actually has underwire in it, and I was like, oh God, this is quite sad, isn't it? Like, so ladies, if you don't want to have plastic surgery, just don't wear underwire bras. It fixes everything.
Wow. I'm not going to try and delve into the bra.
Unless you've got huge boobs.
Yeah, well, look, mine used to be huge and they're deflated so much, and then, because I just don't wear underwire bras and they're so little now that they're just bee stings, I guess, that get held in with some fabric.
Underwire, like, okay, it's Bari Banter, but I'm going to ask about bras. So is it underwire like to help support? Oh,
yeah.
Fact.
Which I don't think you've ever seen me wear an underwire bra.
No, I don't think I have.
Once for Taryn's wedding.
I don't remember it. So for you, Zoe, has there been one habit that stands out to you that's helped you be as successful as you have been that you've implemented?
I would say exercise, but you need to want to exercise. So first 2 years, I didn't want to. I had no desire to exercise. Why would I? And then it was like, actually, I had a goal. I was like, I want to be able to run 5Ks. And I couldn't run 100 meters. Like, even though I was small, I had no respiratory system. Like, can't even run to the end of the street. So I started at the gym with a PT. And then I realised probably after 12 months, gym just wasn't for me. And I happened to speak to one of the PTs at the gym I was at, and he was leaving and starting with another PT to do classes, like outdoor boot campy type classes. So I joined up with them. It was started last year, and then COVID, of course. But I find if I book into class, I'll go. You don't book into the gym. It was just always like, I'm not going. And the time that suited me was when it was always packed and you couldn't use anything anyway. So I really, really loved doing that. I hate HIIT. Hate anything cardio. I still don't run. But I find, for me, I think it's really good for my mental health as well. To exercise.
See, that's why I really love the CrossFit class that I've been going to recently, because it's one of those ones where they only let a certain amount of people into the class every time, so you have to RSVP to the class. And once I've RSVP'd to the class, I'm going. Like there's no ifs or buts about it.
It's like an accountability
I'm going.
thing.
It's accountable.
Yeah.
And then it's usually capped at about 20 people in the class. So I know that every morning that I get up and go to the gym, it's a social outing for me as well. So I was like, yes, I could get up and go for a run, which I still enjoy doing, but that's when I need my alone time, I'll go for a run. But I love the gym and it also pushes me to do things that I wouldn't normally do. Like on Saturday, I missed parkrun because my coach was leaving and we had like a big celebration, like workout for her, so to speak. And I'd never deadlifted properly before because this is only my 4th class from rookies into like big girl classes. And they're like, right, competition style, we're doing deadlifts. And I was like, what the hell? And I was deadlifting 35 kilos, which might not be much for anybody.
That's awesome.
But like for my first time ever deadlifting, and we had to do, I think it was 200 between all 5 of us, and it was like continuous. And so I was just kind of like, normally if I was to step foot into a gym, there's no way that I would ever pick up 35 kilos and go, I'm just going to try this for the first time. But because we had to get into groups and everything, and everyone was like, no, Lita, come with me. 100% you'll be able to pick up 35 kilos. Like, don't worry about it. Even if you're only doing like 4 or 5 reps at a time, we'll carry you the rest, but just get in there and do it. If I was to do that by myself at the gym, there's no way. I'd pick up the bar and I'd be like, yeah, cool, I'm done. 15 kilos, I'm done with the bar. Like, so it's not only being accountable at the gym, it's also having the social aspect of people believing in you a little bit, I guess. Like, and that's what I love about, like, I'm not crazy for CrossFit. I don't want to be a CrossFitter. I don't want to be lifting, 120 kilos and all that sort of thing, but I just love the spirit and the community around it. Like, and that's, it's really, I like it.
Yeah. Oh, you seem to be sticking to it.
Good.
That's good.
And 35 is amazing for your first time deadlifting.
Oh, I couldn't do very many, but
amazing. I don't reckon, like, even when I was at my peak, I don't think I could have deadlifted 35.
I didn't really have a choice.
I can deadlift.
Oh, well, we didn't really have a choice. It was kind of like we had to get in teams of 5, and the team that I was in, they're like, oh, we're lifting like 35 kilos, and we could scale it back to just doing like kettlebell deadlifts. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it. And so like as long as we got through the 200 reps between all 5 of us, so I would do sort of like 10 at a time and everybody else would do like 15 at a time. But then at the end, it came down to me to doing like the last 17. And they're like, you can do it. And I was like, oh, I'm on dead arms and backs already and legs and everything. I was like, sure. And then the whole gym was like sitting there like yelling my name, like chanting my name. And I was like, I can't stop. Like, oh, it was so much pressure, but it was so great. Like, yeah, it was just... It makes it fun. Deadlifting, you've got to kind of be like in your head, be like, go Lita, you can do this. But like when you've actually got like 50 people chanting for you, it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to hire.
And I'm really
people.
lucky that I live close to another fellow sleever who I met through the community, and we literally used to live across the road from each other. How hilarious. But we don't now, but she still walks to my house, so we're all good. But she joins the gym, the same trainers as I did last year after she had a baby. And so we go to a lot of the same sessions a week, and it means that we've got each other. And even though we've been there for so long now, we've made friends with so many of the people there. But for instance, they opened an actual big new gym on yesterday, Sunday. And her and I booked into 7 a.m. session because of, kids' activities. That rules our bloody weekend. So booked into 7 o'clock, and there was only 4 of us from our old training that were at this session. It was all these new people, and they were like fit looking, and we're like, oh no, like, oh my God. And I actually pushed myself so much that I burned 100 more active calories than I normally would in a session. And I can't walk today. Like, I was like, wow, all these fit people made me want to do better.
Yeah.
But then we walked outside, and everyone else that we knew was doing the 8 o'clock session. We were like, oh. And my comment was, I've already asked if I could cancel my membership. That was shit. But no, I love it. Yeah, I love it.
It all definitely counts. It definitely makes it easier.
And it all comes down to accountability as well, though. Like,
absolutely.
It's the same as what we were talking about last week. You can lie to your dietitians and all that, but you can't lie to yourself. It's the same as you can try and go do a workout and half-ass it, but you're only half-assing yourself. Like, you put in what you want to put in. So.
Yeah. If you could give yourself one tip pre-op, what would it be?
Take photos. All the photos, fat, ugly photos.
All the angles?
If you don't, I never let people take full-length photos of me when I was fat. And I only took like the undies and the full clothes ones like once on different angles, got my husband's check, and that was it. And then, you know, as you get to your 12 months and those milestones and you want to be able to compare, you need those photos. Otherwise, you're using the same photos all the time. Mm-hmm. So take the photos, find the photos in your phone, find the ones you've been tagged in on Facebook and save them, because they will help you and your mindset, and in your head you need to see that because you'll feel like you're not changing, because it happens. You know, you're seeing it every day, so to you it's not a big difference. As soon as you compare them, that's when you see a difference. And so take all the bloody photos.
Big motivator to keep you moving forward. And what's next for you? Anything planned moving forward in your life, bariatric, anything?
I'm doing my mini house reno by myself.
Cute.
So for anyone who missed my rant, earlier this year we bought a house and it was not what we expected. Funny story, the police rocked up here last weekend looking for the son of the old owners because he's not a good boy. And the house was left in just a horrible condition. So at the moment, I've ripped some, I don't know what they're called, but these box things off the walls, and I've started painting the entrance. And eventually we're going to paint this whole 42 square house. Well, I am. Wow. I've already said it's going to take me 2 years to paint the damn house, but I'm doing it. Like, I'm doing it.
Oh, wow.
So,
what a job.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, you know, just life. I start a new job in a week, which...
Exciting.
5 years.
Yeah.
I've worked at my current job for 5 years and I do complaints. And so, you know, it's complaints in a major hospital during a pandemic. I don't recommend it.
Oh, my God, could you imagine?
So, I started a new role in a week at a local council as a team leader, which is, you know, so far out of my depth and so far out of my comfort zone. But to be honest, without having bariatric surgery, I don't think I would have had the confidence in myself to get that job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was comfortable in my job. Like, I hated my job, but
it was comfortable.
I know it.
Yep.
But I was comfortable, and I sort of just went, I was on my sick leave, and I just went, I have to do this for me. I'm not happy. I don't want to go back. I have to do this for me. And can't believe I got a job. And now I'm just like, oh God, now I've got to focus on make it. But, you know, full-time work and 2 young kids and, you know, school and all that, it's crazy, but that's life. And then, hopefully in the next couple of years, maybe some more plastic, who knows? And just, for me, it's just really keeping on with exercise.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I think physically everyone needs it, but mentally, for me, I need an outlet, and that's my outlet because I'm not a huge drinker.
Yeah.
So,
well, you do amazing in your job. You've just got that go hard or go home mentality where you're just going to give it all you got, and you're always going to succeed if you do that.
I'm personally super excited for you because I've seen the last couple of months, however long it's been going on, because I've seen you posting about it and stuff like that, and I'm so happy for you, and you're gonna kill it. You need this. You need a fresh start, and you need, like, yes, it's outside of your comfort zone, but you will. You're gonna excel in it. Like, you've excelled in everything else, and it's come at the right time for you, and you're gonna. Like, I'm genuinely excited for you. It's gonna be good.
You. Thank you. I think, look, having bariatric surgery has definitely increased my confidence. And I think before, even though I might have been good at what I did, I felt like I was invisible. Even though I was big, I felt invisible. And I think now, I don't know, I just feel like I've got so much more confidence in even just selling myself. That sounds ridiculous, but I do. So,
trust me, I hear you. There's no way in the world that I would ever be doing what I'm doing with my own career if I was, 3 years ago.
Lacking self-confidence.
It sounds stupid, but, I can sell myself now, and there's no way that I would have been able to in the past. And that comes across really cocky, but it's not cocky. It's just the fact that I actually believe in myself, and I believe that I deserve what I'm working towards. And I think that's a massive thing. So,
Absolutely. And whilst, I don't think the head games with bariatric surgery will end. There'll always be those little demons that, eat away at you, but, just work on the positives and the things that make you happy and make you feel good and fulfilled.
Yep, that's it.
Self-confidence goes a long way. I'm going to be selling myself next week. Come to Park, brothel. Yeah, sell myself. going to be great. Anyway, Zoe, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Always like to end it on an awkward note.
I thought Zoe said she was the awkward one, Shan.
Oh, mate, I am literally I am the awkward turtle.
You are the awkward turtle.
I am the awkward turtle.
If I didn't already know you guys, I would have been an awkward weirdo, but I do know you guys, so it's okay.
Well, that works in our favour. That was good.
Oh, I won't be awkward. I'm coming on with Shan and Lita. They're awkward AF.
We can be a little awkward together. That wasn't even English, but whatever. Anyway, Zoe, absolute pleasure. I'm so glad you came on. I told you before we started this episode, I saw one of your photos and I'm like, oh, we should get her on because, you have done really well. You just kept driving forward. You're 5 years out. You've done amazing, kept sharing your process throughout. And yeah, we're very thankful you've come on and shared a little bit of your knowledge with our Bari Banter family today. And yeah, I guess
if anybody wants to reach out to you, where's the best place to do it?
On my Instagram, guys. So feel free to message me. I'm always happy to answer any questions, as weird and wonderful as they might be. Especially about clothes shopping. I'm a really good shopper.
Hire her as your new personal assistant. That's Zoe's _
Losing it?
Losing it? Yeah, I was like, I forgot your handle. I just know you were Zoe.
I remember losing it because I'm like, every time I say losing it, I'm like, I'm losing it. Wow.
Anyway, so it's been amazing.
You can hire us for weddings. Is that our choreography right there?
It's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much. That's another episode of Bari Banter.
Why, yes, that is another episode of Bari Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.